Hello and welcome back to my channel, Craft Time by Casey. I'm Casey, and today these are the bracelets that I will be making. The vast majority of the parts for these bracelets came from the Spring Splendor treasure bag by GGC Beginning Beaters, and I just absolutely love how these bracelets came out. I love how they sparkle, they reflect the light. I absolutely love rondelle type beads, faceted beads, and how they just shine. I think they turned out absolutely amazing. And of course, finishing off with the toggle clasps and also the charms, which all came in the treasure bag. I'm so happy with how these came out. I think they look fantastic. So if you would like to see how these bracelets came about, then stay tuned. Okay, so we'll get right into it. I will start off by quickly going over the tools that I will be using. So I will be using 2 sets of chain nose pliers. I will be using my set of cutters. And I will also be using my set of crimping pliers. Okay, so I have several bracelets in mind today, and the first one that I will be making is using these really pretty, almost color spectrum beads that came in the treasure bag. Depending on how it hits the light, I really love these. And of course, we'll be using the clear glass rondelles, and we'll be using these natural stone looking flat rondelle beads. And I'll be using 49 strand bead along wire. And I always get it in the 100 feet. I know you can barely see it, but you can sort of see it there, because I go through it so quickly, and I get it in the color Bright, which is the silver color. Everything that I use in this video that did not come from the treasure bag, I will definitely link down below. So to start off, I cut a little bit over 12 inches of the bead along wire because I like to have room on either end to close it. So to start it off, I will be putting on a crimp tube, a jump ring, and a wire guardian. So you put it through one side of the wire guardian and wrap it around to the other. Put it through just like that. And then you want to make sure that the jump ring goes inside the wire guardian and that the crimp tube has both wires going through it, just like that. All right, and that's a little bit too much of a tail, so I'm gonna pull it down a little bit. And I'm gonna pinch that wire guardian closed a little bit with my fingers, and then push everything to the end. I'm gonna pull that while I'm holding it here at the end so that it gets nice and snug. I'm going to make sure that I hold those wires apart so that they don't get tangled and the crimp works properly. So I'm going to grab my crimping pliers and I'm going to go into that second divot in the crimping pliers and give it a good smash. And then when you pull it out, you'll have that taco shape. Turn it on its side. Give it another smash. And that makes it pretty good, but you want to make sure, the way I like it is I go in with that last part of the crimping pliers and I give it a good smash. That way it's nice and snug. Then I'm going to take a crimp cover, place it right on top of that smashed crimp tube, and then flip it up just like that. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and give it a good smash. And then I take my chain nose pliers to the front and give it a little smash so that it curls it around a little bit. And it gives that illusion of the first bead. All right, so that is how you start each and every bracelet. So if you need a reminder throughout the video, you can come back to the beginning of this one and watch it again. All right, so once it has the beginning on it, then it's just a matter of the order of the beads in the bracelet. So I'm gonna start this one with the flat round. And then the bead caps that I'm using come from my own stash. And they're that really cool, almost flower pattern. So I'm gonna go bead cap up, clear glass rondelle, bead cap down. I'm gonna go down here and make sure the tail is tucked in to those last few beads. All right, and so that is the pattern for each side. Of course, there will be a center component, so I'm going to repeat this 3 more times. All right, so here is this end, and the one thing I did do is I added one more flat round. I repeated that 3 more times, and then I added a 5th pink flat rondelle to the end of it. So this will be one side of the bracelet. And now I'm going to make the center component. So I'm also going to be using the same bead cap facing up. And now I'll be using this beautifully colored round bead cap facing down. Now I'll be using the 3 millimeter very light pink rondelle. All right, I'm going to do it again. And again, the light pink. And then one more. And there is that center component. I just think that works really good together. Okay, so now we're going to make this side the exact same way on the opposite side. So we will meet back up to close it off at the end. All right, so now we have both ends on this bracelet, and I love how sparkly it is. I love faceted beads, how they pick up light. So let's close off our first bracelet. So I have a little bit too much of a tail on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and snip it off a little bit. So I'm going to use a crimp tube, a jump ring, and a wire guardian. So with the wire guardian, I put it in one side and then wrap it around, put it through the other. All right, so you want to make sure that the jump ring goes inside the wire guardian and that both wires go through the crimp tube. Just like that. So now I want to put that tail down here through a couple of beads. And then I'll hang on to it. And pull it through. So now I'm going to pinch the wire guardian shut with my fingers. And then I'm going to hold it and then make sure that I pull that where it's decently snug. You don't want it too tight. You want the bracelet to have a little flexibility, but not where you can see the wire. So now I'm going to take my crimping pliers and I'm going to go to the crimp in the second divot and I'm going to smash it. All right, so it has that nice taco shape. Put it on its side. Give it another good smash. Now, like I said before, I like to go in with the end of the crimping pliers and give it that final smash. All right, and that way it's nice and secure. I'm going to take that crimp cover, put it right over that crimp tube. And turn it over. Then you go in there with your chain nose pliers. Give it a good smash. And then I like to go again, front to back. Give it a lighter smash so that it starts to curl in. And then I'm going to get that tail, go in there with my cutters as close as I can. And then I go in there and tuck that last bit into the next bead. Just like that. All right, so here is the first bracelet, but we also have to put on the clasp. The clasp that I will be using is the one that came in the Spring Splendor. It's the toggle clasp that has that almost S-looking snake pattern on it. So I'm going to use the jump rings that are on there. Open it a little. Put on the end. Close that jump ring. Go to the other end. Open it. Put on the bar. Close it. All right, so here is the first bracelet. And total, this bracelet is about 7.5 inches when you factor in the toggle, obviously overlapping when it closes. And that's about the length that I go for most of my bracelets, is right at that 7.5. All right, so on to the next one. All right, so here is the start of bracelet number 2. Again, if you need a refresher or a reminder on how to start it, you can definitely go back in the video to the first one. So now the pattern for this one. So we'll be using the 4mm turquoise rondelles. And then for these, we'll be using these spacers from my own stash. They sort of have like almost like a button shape to them. So we'll put the spacer and then the large green rondelle, like emerald green, spacer, turquoise, spacer, rondelle, the emerald rondelle. So now we're going to tuck that tail in. All right, so here is the pattern for the second one. And this is the pattern all the way across. So we're going to repeat this. We're going to repeat this about 5 more times. All right, so here is the second one. I went ahead and I closed it off the exact same way with the toggle clasp. So again, if you need the reminder, you can go back up in the video and watch that. It's the same process as the first one. All right, on to the next one. All right, to start the third one, again, you can back up if you need the reminder. And for this one, I'm going to be using several of similar beads, just in a different pattern. I'm also going to be using some of the spacers that came in the bead bag, and then of course some spacers from my own stash. And then I will be using these flower bead caps, also from my own stash. We're going to be using the 4x3mm rondelle crystals, and we're going to alternate with the spacers from my own stash. And then down at the bottom, we're going to tuck that tail in. We're going to repeat this about 5 more times. All right, so here is one end of the bracelet, and now we're going to do the center component. So we're going to use the larger spacers, flat pink rondelle, larger spacer, flat pink, and then for the large one in the center, we're going to have bead cap facing up, bead, bead cap facing down. And then flat pink, larger spacer, flat pink, larger spacer. All right, so that is the center component. And now we're going to do this exact same pattern on the other side and close it off. All right, so here is the third one. And I went ahead and closed it off the same way. And again, if you need a reminder, you can go back to that first bracelet. It is all done the same way. All right, on to the next one. All right, so for this one, I'm going to use one of the 20x16x9 mauve faceted. And this is the flat oval glass bead. It says it's electroplated glass bead. It's one of the focals, and this will be the centerpiece of this bracelet. And of course, we're using the flat, they're listed as spacer beads, these purple glass faceted beads. And we're using these. This is one of the green plated geometric rondelle beads. And then the spacers that came in the bag. And then of course the bead caps from my own stash. And these are spacers also from my own stash. Round, flat spacers. All right, and again, if you need help starting it off, just go right back to that first one. It's done the exact same way. So for this one, we're starting off with the purple faceted, the purple flat bead, and then we're gonna alternate with the silver round spacers. All right, and you go to the other end and tuck those in, that tail in. And you're gonna repeat this about 3 or 4 more times. All right, so here is one side of the bracelet, and now we're going to do the center component, which will be round spacer, bead cap facing up, geometric round, bead cap facing down, round spacer, then the focal bead, round spacer, bead cap facing up, geometric bead, bead cap facing down. All right, and that would be the center component. And now we're going to do this exact same thing on this side, on the other side, and we'll meet back up. All right, and here is the end. I went ahead and closed it with the toggle clasp. And again, if you need the refresher or the reminder, you can go right back to that beginning, and it's the same process. Okay, on to the next one. All right, so I've already started the next one, and I will be using the green rondelles again, the geometric one again, and this time I'll be using one of the dark cyan 9mm rice shaped electroplated glass beads. These are beautiful. And I'll be using the spacers that came in the treasure bag, and my own bead caps. And these have the flower shape. So the beginning pattern is a simple back and forth, rice bead, spacer, rice bead, spacer, and then you can go to the other end and make sure that's nice and tucked in there. And this is the pattern for each side. So we're gonna repeat this about 2 or 2.5 more times. All right, so here's one end, and now we're gonna work on the center component. Bead cap facing up, emerald green rondelle, bead cap facing down, spacer, bead cap facing up, geometric, bead cap facing down, spacer, bead cap facing up, rondelle, bead cap facing down, spacer. All right, so there's that center component, and I absolutely love that that center bead has a color changing effect depending on what lights. I mean, you can see it. It's blue, it's yellow, it's pink. Like, it just depends on how the light hits it. So there's that center component, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did here on the other side. All right, so here is this one that is already closed off. It's got the toggle clasp on it. And again, if you need that refresher how to close it off, you can head right back up to the first one. All right, on to the next one. All right, and for this last one, the center focal bead will be this. It's a 10 by 10 by 10 millimeter medium purple glass cube. And this is another one of those just amazing beads that, depending on how it catches the light, it changes color, and I absolutely love it. And then I will be using the clear glass rondelles, and I will be using the purple. They're listed as spacer beads, but these glass beads, and the rest are from my stash. So I'll be using these larger flower-shaped bead caps, and then these smaller bead caps with the leaf pattern on them, and then these spacer beads that have the grooves on the edges. They're flat, round beads. All right, so I have this one all ready to go. And the pattern will be a flat purple bead, grooved spacer, flat purple bead, and then for this one I'm going to be putting the bead cap facing up and the clear crystal rondelles as part of the pattern. Bead cap facing down. So on down, tuck that tail in to the last couple of beads. All right. So this is the pattern, and we are going to repeat this 3 more times for this side of the bracelet. All right, so here is this side of the bracelet, and now we're going to put in that center component. And this is where we're going to have the large bead cap with that cube, and then the large bead cap, of course, facing down. All right, so there is that center component, and we're going to have the other side look just like this one. We're going to repeat this pattern on the other side, and we will meet back up at the end. All right, so here is the end of this last one. It's completed. I went ahead and finished it off and put the clasp on there. Again, if you need a refresher on how to finish it off, you can go back to that first bracelet. It's the same process. So now I want to get all the bracelets that we made back in here. And I want to add the charms that also came in the treasure bag. So these are the 8 by 6 by 2 millimeter silver tone alloy heart charms that came in the treasure bag. So we are going to add them to those jump rings. As you can see, the jump rings are a little bit larger on the ends, perfect to add charms to. So we'll add it to one, and it'll be the same process for each one. All right, so we go to that jump ring, open it, just add that charm right onto the end, close that jump ring. And there it is. All right, so we go to the other end, open that jump ring, add that charm right onto the end, and close that jump ring. So now, each bracelet will have that added little touch with the clasp. All right, so there you go. Add the charm to that clasp. Very decorative clasp. Looks very nice, along with the bracelet. All right, so I'm gonna add the charms to each one of the bracelets, and then I'll set it up on my display so that we can see every one of them better. All right, here they all are laid out, and yes, I am very happy with how they came out. I like how, shiny they are, reflective, almost very elegant. I love the rondelle type beads and the faceted beads, and how they reflect the light. They just look so shiny. And I mean, in my opinion, they just look awesome. And of course, with the toggle clasps and the charms, I just think that really brought it together and just makes for a really nice looking bracelet, each one of them. So yes, there they are. If you liked this video and you want to see other videos like this, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Give me a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of these bracelets. I love reading your comments. You guys are so kind, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And I definitely look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.